Crossing the Rubicon, it's a phrase that echoes through history, a powerful metaphor for those moments in life when we make a decision from which there is no turning back. To truly understand the weight of this idiom, we must journey back in time to the year 49 BCE and stand on the banks of a seemingly insignificant river with Julius Caesar, a man poised to become a legend. Imagine a world on the brink of collapse, its intricate social fabric tearing at the seams. The Roman Republic, once a beacon of democracy and power, found itself teetering on the precipice of chaos. Rampant corruption had poisoned the halls of government, while the yawning chasm between the wealthy elite and the impoverished masses grew ever wider. In the midst of this turmoil, powerful generals commanded legions of loyal soldiers, their ambitions often eclipsing their loyalty to the state. The Senate, desperate to curb Caesar's influence, ordered him to disband his army and return to Rome, a demand that masked a sinister intent. Caesar knew that to comply was to surrender his destiny, perhaps even his life, to the machinations of his enemies. The story of Caesar and the Rubicon is more than just a dusty historical anecdote. It's a potent reminder that the choices we make, however small they may seem at the time, have the power to shape our lives and the world around us. It speaks to the courage required to embrace the unknown, to take that irreversible step into the abyss, even when the outcome remains shrouded in uncertainty. Join us as we unravel the enduring legacy of crossing the Rubicon and discover why this phrase continues to hold such profound meaning in our modern world. Today, the phrase "crossing the Rubicon" has transcended its historical origins to become a universal metaphor for any decision that marks a point of no return. It encapsulates those pivotal moments in our lives, both big and small, when we consciously choose a path knowing full well that there's no turning back. Regardless of the context, the essence remains the same. A line has been crossed, a commitment made, and the consequences, be they triumphant or tragic, must be faced. It's a powerful lens through which to view our own choices, urging us to consider not just the immediate outcome, but the long-term ramifications of our actions. There's an inherent sense of drama and finality embedded within the phrase "crossing the Rubicon." It's a stark acknowledgement that life is not a rehearsal. It's a live performance where every decision, every word, every action carries weight and consequence. Once the Rubicon is crossed, there's no rewinding, no do-overs. This concept of irreversibility is what gives the phrase its enduring power. It reminds us that while we may not always be able to predict the future, we can choose how we respond to the challenges and opportunities that come our way. Throughout history, countless individuals have faced their own Rubicon moments, those defining instances where they were called upon to make difficult, often life-altering choices. Martin Luther King Jr.'s decision to lead the civil rights movement, Nelson Mandela's unwavering fight against apartheid, Rosa Parks' simple act of defiance on a Montgomery bus. These were all moments when individuals crossed their own personal Rubicons. But the resonance of this phrase extends far beyond the realm of history books and grand narratives. It's present in the everyday lives of ordinary people facing extraordinary circumstances. The single parent working multiple jobs to provide for their children, the student overcoming adversity to pursue their education, the activist risking their freedom to fight for social justice. To truly grasp the significance of Caesar's Rubicon crossing, we must first journey back to the tumultuous final decades of the Roman Republic. The once mighty Roman Republic, a beacon of democracy and military prowess, found itself teetering on the precipice of collapse, its foundations eroded by centuries of internal strife and external pressures. The common people, burdened by poverty and marginalized by a system that favored the privileged few, yearned for a leader who would champion their cause and restore order to a world spiraling towards chaos. Amidst this backdrop of social unrest and political turmoil, a new breed of leader emerged, one whose ambition and charisma would forever alter the course of Roman history: Gaius Julius Caesar. Born into a patrician family with a distinguished lineage, Caesar possessed a potent combination of intellect, charm, and ruthlessness that would propel him to the pinnacle of power. A brilliant military strategist, his conquests in Gaul brought him immense wealth, military glory, and the unwavering loyalty of his legions. He used his growing wealth to fund public works projects, staged lavish games to entertain the masses, and skillfully navigated the treacherous waters of Roman politics, forging alliances and outmaneuvering his rivals with cunning and audacity. As Caesar's star rose, so too did the anxieties of the Roman elite. The Senate, fearful of his growing power and popular appeal, viewed him as a threat to their authority, a dangerous demagogue who might seek to dismantle the very foundations of the Republic. Whispers of tyranny and dictatorship followed Caesar back to Rome, fueled by the venomous rhetoric of his political enemies, who sought to undermine his influence and turn the tide of public opinion against him. The stage was set for a clash of titans, a confrontation that would decide the fate of the Republic and plunge the Roman world into a bloody civil war. Flowing southwards from the Apennine Mountains towards the Adriatic Sea, the Rubicon River might appear unassuming on a map of the vast Roman Republic. Yet, this seemingly insignificant waterway marked a boundary of profound legal and symbolic significance. For centuries, it had served as the dividing line between the Roman province of Cisalpine Gaul, where generals held supreme military authority, and Italy proper, the heartland of the Republic, where the rule of law and the authority of the Senate reigned supreme. Roman law explicitly forbade any general from crossing the Rubicon River at the head of his legions. The prohibition against crossing the Rubicon was more than just a legal statute. It was a deeply ingrained tradition, a cornerstone of the Roman Republic's system of checks and balances. Generals returning from victorious campaigns were expected to disband their armies before crossing the Rubicon, symbolically relinquishing their military might and submitting to the authority of the Senate. It was a ritual steeped in tradition, a public affirmation that military power was subservient to the rule of law and the collective will of the Roman people, as represented by the Senate. In the winter of 49 BCE, as Caesar's legions stood poised on the northern bank of the Rubicon, the weight of history bore down upon him. To cross the river was to embrace the mantle of rebel, to cast aside the fragile peace that held the Republic together, and to plunge Rome into a bloody civil war, the outcome of which was far from certain. Yet to turn back, to obey the Senate's summons and return to Rome as a private citizen, was to surrender his destiny to his enemies, to risk imprisonment, exile, or even death. The tension was palpable, a suffocating blanket of uncertainty draped over Caesar's legions as they stood on the brink of history. The murmuring of the river, the rustling of cloaks in the winter wind, these sounds were but whispers compared to the deafening roar of the decision that hung heavy in the air. Finally, he emerged from his tent, a palpable aura of resolve emanating from him. "The die is cast," Caesar declared, his voice echoing across the assembled troops, each word imbued with the weight of history. Alea iacta estimated. With this simple phrase, uttered in the common tongue of Rome, Caesar signaled his intent not just to his men but to the world. The crossing itself was undramatic, a far cry from the monumental decision it represented. The Rubicon, shallow and easily traversed, belied the seismic shift in Roman history it now embodied. As Caesar and his legions waded across, they weren't just soldiers marching, they were actors on a grand stage, playing their parts in a drama that would be recounted for millennia. Word of Caesar's transgression spread through Italy like wildfire, igniting a firestorm of fear and indignation in Rome. The Senate, once a symbol of Roman authority, now appeared weak and indecisive in the face of Caesar's audacity. The Republic, already fractured by internal strife, now teetered on the brink of all-out war, the very foundations of Roman society shaken to their core. The Rubicon, once a geographical boundary, became a permanent fixture in the Roman psyche, a cautionary tale whispered from generation to generation. The news of Caesar's crossing sent shockwaves through the Roman world. Panic seized the Roman Senate, their worst fears realized. The symbolic barrier of the Rubicon had been breached not by barbarian hordes or foreign invaders, but by one of their own, a man who had risen through the ranks of Roman society to challenge its very foundations. The senators, accustomed to the measured pace of political maneuvering and backroom deals, found themselves ill-prepared for the sudden eruption of armed conflict. Pompey the Great, once hailed as the savior of the Republic, now faced a dilemma. Should he stand against Caesar, risking a devastating civil war that could shatter the remnants of Roman unity? Or should he seek a negotiated settlement, a concession that might preserve the peace but would forever tarnish his reputation and embolden Caesar's ambitions? Torn between duty and pragmatism, Pompey and his allies chose flight, abandoning the eternal city to Caesar's advancing legions. With each passing day, the news from the front lines confirmed Caesar's growing strength. Towns and cities, sensing the shift in power, opened their gates to his legions, their citizens weary of conflict and swayed by promises of stability under Caesar's rule. His reputation as a brilliant military strategist, honed on the battlefields of Gaul, preceded him, striking fear into the hearts of his enemies and inspiring confidence in those who rallied to his banner. Caesar, ever the shrewd tactician, understood the importance of public perception. He presented himself not as a conqueror but as a liberator, a champion of the people come to restore order to a republic ravaged by corruption and mismanagement. His soldiers, disciplined and well-paid, were instructed to treat the conquered populace with respect, a stark contrast to the often brutal excesses of Roman armies in the past. The Roman Civil War was a brutal affair, a testament to the deep divisions that racked Roman society. Brother fought against brother, friend against friend, as the legions of Caesar clashed with the armies of the Senate in a series of bloody engagements across the Mediterranean world. From the plains of Pharsalus to the deserts of North Africa, the fate of the Republic hung in the balance, the outcome uncertain as the tides of war ebbed and flowed. Yet through it all, Caesar's star continued to rise. His military genius, coupled with his unwavering determination and the loyalty of his troops, proved insurmountable. Victory followed victory, each triumph cementing his status as the undisputed master of the Roman world. The Rubicon, once a line in the sand, had become a distant memory, its symbolic power overshadowed by the reality of Caesar's dominion. The image of Caesar standing at the Rubicon, the weight of a momentous decision heavy on his shoulders, continues to resonate across the centuries. His choice, born from ambition, calculation, and perhaps a touch of destiny, serves as a stark reminder that we are all architects of our own fate. Caesar's crossing wasn't merely a military maneuver, it was a declaration that the old order was crumbling, that the Roman world was on the cusp of a new era, shaped by his will and ambition. The Roman Republic, for all its grandeur and influence, was ultimately a system built on fragile foundations. The balance of power between the Senate and the military, between the aristocracy and the common people, had long been strained, and Caesar's Rubicon crossing exposed the fault lines that would ultimately bring the Republic crashing down. His victory in the ensuing civil war marked the end of an era, the twilight of republican ideals, and the dawn of a new age of emperors and empires. Even today, millennia after Caesar's fateful decision, the phrase "crossing the Rubicon" retains its potent symbolism. It's a testament to the enduring power of history, to the way in which certain events, certain decisions transcend their time and place to become woven into the very fabric of human experience. We invoke Caesar's name not to glorify conquest or empire, but to remind ourselves of the weight of choice, the understanding that every decision, no matter how small, has the potential to set in motion a chain of events with far-reaching consequences. From the halls of power to the everyday lives of ordinary people, the concept of the Rubicon continues to shape our understanding of decision-making and risk. We see it in the boardrooms of multinational corporations where CEOs weigh the potential rewards of a bold new venture against the risks of financial ruin. We see it in the laboratories of scientists on the cusp of groundbreaking discoveries, grappling with the ethical implications of their research. And we see it in the quiet moments of personal reflection, as individuals summon the courage to step outside their comfort zones, to embrace the unknown, and to pursue their dreams with unwavering determination. Each of us, in our own way, will face our own Rubicon at some point in our lives. It might not be a literal river, but a metaphorical crossroads where we must choose between the familiar comfort of the past and the uncertain promise of the future. It could be a decision to change careers, to end a relationship, to speak out against injustice, or simply to embrace a new passion with all of our hearts. Whatever form it takes, our own Rubicon represents a point of no return, a moment when we must summon the courage to let go of the past and embrace the unknown, trusting in our own judgment and the resilience of the human spirit. The story of Caesar and the Rubicon is not a blueprint for reckless ambition or a justification for the pursuit of power at any cost. Instead, it is a cautionary tale, a reminder that even the most calculated decisions can have unintended consequences, and that the pursuit of greatness must always be tempered by wisdom, compassion, and a deep respect for the human cost of our actions. As we navigate the complexities of our own lives, may we all approach our own Rubicons with a clear mind, a steady hand, and the courage to embrace the unknown, knowing that the decisions we make today will shape not only our own destinies, but the course of history itself.